Tonight is part of the You Already Know series, and what we're looking at is being yourself. And I only have about 10 minutes, so it's going to go fast. But it came to me, and I'm really excited to share. So, one thing to consider with some of these things is that some people won't know what you mean. Oh, hey, I'm so glad you're here. We're all having different experiences, and some that seem very obvious and pervasive to you might not be on somebody else's radar at all. And one of them is this idea of being yourself. And so this broadcast would be for you if that is something that you're wanting to become or hold more often. Hey everybody, welcome. Do shout out if you have anything. So, being yourself is a sensation. You kind of know when you are or when you aren't. And again, it might be possible this and that. Okay, I don't have to say it again. Those people are probably already gone. And it's just us, those ones that are interesting. Yes, thank you. Thank you for shouting. To me, it kind of feels like running with the wind. It's like, oh God, I love when it does that. It's like this open aperture feeling where things are lined up and they're easy and things kind of like, there's not much, like all parts of me agree. What I'm doing, how I'm doing, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm saying, like they're all there. And there's also this level of not being aware of myself because I'm just being myself. So I'm not thinking about myself or having an experience of myself. I'm just being myself. And I think that you can tell when you step out of, so like here's our handy illustration. This would be in the center of who you are. Like this is you. And first, I'll acknowledge that who we are is always changing. And that's cool, right? Okay, we're back. Is always changing over the arc of our lives, but also in response to the environment around us. If you haven't seen Trading Places, it's an old Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd film. I guess I'm looking for people to join, but I should be looking straight ahead. And I'm pretty sure for a lot of people, and not everybody, but for a lot of people, there's something to that. And the premise is that the characters swap places, and one goes from living on the streets to living and working in the stock market or commodities market, and the other one goes to the street. And they come to exhibit behaviors and thinking of the things around them. Pay attention when you're in different places, what is drawn from you. And again, might not be, some people can like be very fixed and who they are always, and others, that's an economics version of Freaky Friday. That's brilliant, and that's why I'm glad you come in here. Hey, girl. Some people have more variability in how they are. And it's not like, oh, let me be the same as you. It's just kind of like this inclination to harmonize, a way to kind of like feel and meet someone. It's like dancing somewhat. And you might be, again, somebody that never wants to dance anybody's step but your own, or you might be somebody that's always trying to dance everyone, and neither is wrong in and of itself. It's just like, does it work for you? Human design, gene keys are tools I love, and the gist of those is like, here is how people express differently, which means like for some people, meeting and dancing with them could be them abandoning themselves. For some, that's just how they roll. And so the actual activity of, let's say, like meeting and matching somebody in and of itself isn't bad or wrong to change. It might just be like, it depends who and for what, etc. And I say that because in being yourself, you can have these ideas, and they might be fucking awesome ideas, like, oh, I should always be this, I should never be that. They could be great ideas, but they might not be great for you. Just like when I talk, and I could go on about, the food industry, food system, but I won't. We're not here for that. But the idea is like there's a lot of overarching guidance. These are good foods. These are bad foods. Eat this. Don't eat this. Okay, but no, we're all uniquely situated, and there can be threads of, sense or reason through those, but it's really about recognizing you're in a very unique situation, and this situation is always part of the situation external to it, the weather, the season, your stressful environments, the people you're around, like everything's always in motion. And so in talking about kind of like the self, the true self, what we're looking for is really this relaxation, being myself, being yourself. And over time, like this has been decades for me of exploration, but only a few years kind of focusedly and asking the question of like, who am I? I came to think that I should be, or, and this is what's so funny about the healing journey is it's chock full of ideas. Ideas are generally what you're there to get rid of. But as you progress, as I did, as I see in content that's out there, you come along more ideas, and you swap your first set of impoverished ideas for a new set. And the new set I had was like, wow, that developed out of trauma. We shouldn't do that anymore. And there's a Tennessee Williams quote, and I think Nietzsche has one similarly, and they might, who knows, I could be mixing it up, but the idea is kind of like, be careful when you throw out your demons that you don't throw out your angels as well. And that's to say, like, back to the idea of the trait being perhaps good for you, perhaps not good for you. Like, there are things that you have developed, perhaps from trauma, not from trauma, that could have good implications, possibly not so helpful implications. And it's allowing yourself to be present enough to make that decision, not from what you think, but from the feedback that you're actually getting and how it feels. And that's to say, so I was talking about how I got a whole new idea sets to replace my other idea sets. And what I came to find in that journey is that, yes, I like a good book. Yeah, I probably read a lot as a child to escape what was going on around me. But I also really like it. And similarly, like, I like to be different. At some point, that could have been because I needed validation or standing out or blah, blah, blah. Or it could just be that's how I am. So I suggest and highly recommend when I'm working with people around change. Let's see what I can do with my hair here. That their first step is not forcing a new structure, not forcing. And so with ideas around yourself, it's particularly important because the ideas you have around yourself likely aren't it. So it's about being curious. And so if you're, let's say, like someone who wants to be themselves more often, wants to be authentic more often, begin, or let's say like coddle that whole journey with curiosity. If you find that you have the sensation that you're not being true to yourself, rather than being mean to yourself or trying to figure anything out, what if you took a couple breaths, you made some space, and you just noticed? So much of our problem solving, if you're that type, can come from a place of looking like you're looking this way, very narrowly, when if you did this, you'd be like, oh, okay, it's a result. So trading spaces would be an example. Someone might be, I was working with someone the other day, and they were saying like, oh, I'm not using my voice the whole way. And so they've identified this problem. but when you blew open to look at the whole environment, it's because they didn't feel comfortable, because it likely wasn't a safe environment. And so rather than to try to solve every problem that you have on your dashboard, make sure you zoom out and check the environment. And of course, I'm of the thinking that in general there's nothing that's separate and everything's always feedback. And that's a different conversation. I probably have in at least 7 to 20 YouTube videos where it's like how to use the mirrors around you. Phenomenal tool for growth. At least I found it to be. So going back to this idea of being yourself, here's one tool you can use that I think is really simple and helpful. So we have your center, and this is where you're being yourself. You're acting naturally. Another way to think of it is kind of being free. And being yourself is interesting. So before I do this last tool, I will add this as well. The umbrella covers all y'all, which means that even when you're not being yourself, you're still there, which means like, oh, you're expressing, you must be being yourself. Like, allow everything you're doing to be being yourself, because even if you're adjusting your behavior out of fear, making it bigger or making it smaller, that's still you, baby. I know it doesn't feel like you. I know it's not the sensation that you're looking for, but it's still you, baby. And one way to help you to relax is not to have fear or tension against that expression of you that isn't you. Give that a little slap on the ass and hug it close, because that's you too. So this is a tool to kind of help you like navigate, though, to sort out like just reconcile. It's like a reconciling tool. So we have your center, and this would be acting naturally. And then let's say we have like a plus and minus. And I said this a little bit just now, but acting bigger than you are or smaller than you are. And generally you leave your circle where you're comfortable and natural because you think that there's a reason to do it. Why? Because you put something outside of yourself, which might be acceptance. It might be love. Maybe it's money. With money, I'd say like take it a little bit further. Like, what's behind that? Is it survival? Is it, like take it a little bit further than the person. You go out of your way to not upset somebody. Okay, great. You've identified that. But why? Why do you not want to upset them? And it might be you'll find that you don't want them to not like you. Why do you want them to not like you? And you'll find sort of like these different inconsistencies in your thinking. And that's what I do with clients. Not that particular chain of questioning, but like the idea of thinking that's faulty and then bringing it to light, and then it no longer holds weight. So you can think of like an elephant is, they use this all the time in self-development, but it's like an elephant is tied to a plastic chair when it's just a little one. Then it grows. I don't think a plastic chair is the right option or the right example, but you'll follow along. It gets bigger. It could pull that chair anywhere it wanted, but at one point it couldn't. And that pattern, that idea, that program is anchored within. And so that's the kind of like thinking that binds you, that's invisible. Sneaky, subtle, invisible. Hey, I love you, I'll miss you. I shall call you this weekend. So what I'm talking about is being yourself, and we're about to wrap up in the last bit. So basically I was saying like, here's your center, here's being yourself. But remember, there's nothing that you're going to do while you're alive that isn't yourself. It's all included. And again, I recognize that sensation of being yourself or being true to yourself is different, but it is helpful, again, to encompass all of it, because there's something in you that's having you act that way. We should chat sometime. There's something in you that's having you act that way, and if you push it outside of yourself, that's power that you lose to correct it. If you pull it in and you do like the little lasso and you rope it in and you hug it close and you just breathe, then it won't be something that you fight. When it's not something you fight, you have more bandwidth to really see what's going on. More bandwidth means more confidence, means feeling more relaxed, means, oh, you see better, you make a better choice. Isn't that magical? So, reasons you might leave that feeling of comfort could be to get something or avoid something. also to consider in this process of like making this your home more often is that likely, if this is something you've been thinking about, your nervous system is participating in you jumping out of your center. So it might be that you're in an environment that recollects somewhere that you weren't safe, or you were just really trained to sit still. Think of the poor children in school who have to sit still. No, I don't think that, like, it doesn't make sense to me that we're trained to sit down and be quiet that way. I think it's the best that we can do right now, I suppose, but I think that, or hope that, there are iterations. I'm not that close to the ground. Maybe there are iterations right now, but it doesn't make sense to me to kind of like take somebody's natural, make them submit their will to somebody who seems bigger than them and has power over them. But call me crazy. So anyhow, my point is that your nervous system will likely make some of these choices for you. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. It sometimes takes time then to train your nervous system back to your center. Once you clear out those ideas that make it want to leave, you help remind you, like, we're all right to do this. It's okay to do this, but it still might take your nervous system to get on board with you being safe to use your voice in different places that you're hesitant to. Be so sweet to you in the meantime. Let's all clap together. Because when you are mean to you about it, again, you're just rejecting yourself and you're saying you're not safe, you're not okay. That is essentially the original reason for leaving the center of who you are. So to correct it, it's not to correct the action, it's to correct the interpretation and the thinking. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Oh, thank you. This will be on YouTube at Shaylee Edwards. If you're not subscribed, please do. I love a new subscriber on YouTube. And I'm working with clients one-to-one still since 2016. Oh, guys, it's too much. And if you're interested in what that process might look like for you, or how it could work to help you accomplish what's important to you, let me know. As you may have picked up on my Instagram, I do things a little differently, so differently that I don't even know that I'm doing them differently. And that means that the way I work with clients is different than anything that you've probably tried before. And I do it collaboratively with, let's say, like intuition and spirit, and there's an energy component, but sometimes we're doing like real basic stuff, like listing things in Excel spreadsheets, where we say like, okay, here are the things that I think that are holding me back. Let's explore them. Why? What's real about that? If not that, then, like, allow yourself to see things outside of yourself, kind of like sort it out, and then it stops like chasing you. You turn around and look directly at it, and then it sits down and you can make sense of it and do something differently. Thank you for everything that you are and everything you do. That's so sweet. Thank you so much for your continued support and for coming to my lives and saying cool things. It's always a pleasure to have you here. All right, everybody have a great evening. Thank you so much.